Storytelling is crucial to master if you want to connect with your audience and get your message across. So why doesn't it get used more often? Well, the truth is most people just assume you have to be naturally creative or talented, but in reality, storytelling is a skill that you can build just like any other. And it's not hard, you just need to know what to do. So in this video, I'll be sharing 5 non-obvious learnings you can use to make your stories flow, convey your message, and show you how you can apply this to your next piece of content or your next presentation. The first one is something that a lot of creatives will struggle with. Here's something nobody wants to tell you. You can actually be too creative in storytelling. Sometimes the very thing we think will make our message engaging is what actually makes it confusing. Now, a lot of new storytellers think that a good story is one that's clever or dramatic or sounds like a movie. They try to use metaphors or fancy words or twist endings. But here's what actually happens. Your audience tunes out, especially in the workplace or in any business context. People value their time and they would rather that you just get straight to the point. Let's imagine that a founder went into a meeting to pitch their startup idea and they started with this elaborate metaphor about sailing through stormy seas with a crew of unlikely heroes. By the end of the pitch, the investors were still trying to figure out what the actual product was. Meanwhile, another founder came in and said, "We help construction teams finish jobs 18% faster by automating their scheduling tools." It's simple, it's clear, it's powerful. You don't have to guess who would have been funded in that case, right? So with that said, here's how you can avoid the too creative trap. Start with the point. What's the one thing you want your audience to walk away with? Say that thing first. Use plain language. Imagine that you're explaining it to a friend over coffee. Use story elements only if they enhance the point, not distract from it. And if you find yourself trying to add 3 layers of metaphor before you get to the point, just stop. You've already lost them. So remember, creativity is great, but clarity wins. Don't make your audience work to get it. Now, let's get into the second thing most people misunderstand about storytelling. And this one might actually free you from the blank page nightmare. There's a myth that storytelling is all about inspiration, that great stories just come to people in the shower. But professional storytellers don't wait for inspiration. They follow a consistent, repeatable structure. Think about your favorite movies, your favorite speeches, or books. They obviously all have different stories, different characters, different settings, different moods, different sounds, but under the hood, they follow similar frameworks. Why? Because our brains like structure. It helps us to process, to remember, and to emotionally connect with information. One of the most famous examples is Pixar's story formula. Here's what it sounds like. Once upon a time, there was blank. Every day blank, until one day blank. Because of that blank, until finally blank. And then use it in every movie from Finding Nemo to Inside Out. Or think about the classic hero's journey, the setup, the challenge, the conflict, the climax, the resolution. Why does it work? Because it mirrors how we experience real life. Let's say you're doing a pitch deck or an internal presentation. You can use those same beats. The setup, what was the problem you were facing? The challenge, what obstacles were in your way? The conflict, what did you try and what failed? And the climax, what finally worked? Finally, it's the resolution, what's the takeaway, and what's next. Here's an example. When we launched our new onboarding flow, customer signups actually dropped by 12%. That didn't make sense. So we ran 3 experiments to test friction points. Eventually, we discovered that one field was confusing 70% of users. Fixing it brought our conversions back up 18% in a week. Simple story, clear beats, real-world impact. So if you're staring at a blank page, don't try to be clever, just follow the beats. But even if you follow a good structure, your story might still struggle a lot. Let's go over the most common mistake people make across the board, which is focusing too much on themselves. Because here's the trap. Say you start telling your story and it's going really well, at least to you. It's interesting, it's exciting. You can talk about it passionately and really bring some energy to the table. The issue is it's all about you. And the audience isn't listening to learn about you. They're listening only for themselves. We all love talking about our experiences, but if your story doesn't answer why should they care, then it doesn't matter. This is especially true in business storytelling. Your customer doesn't want to hear how smart your team is. They want to know, can you help me solve my problem? So instead of saying something like, we're a passionate team of AI developers who believe in ethical tech, you can say, if you're overwhelmed by the pace of AI and you're unsure how to use it responsibly, we give you tools that are powerful and ethical so you can move fast without breaking trust. Do you see how that second version makes the audience the hero? Your story is just a bridge that helps them win. So always ask yourself, what is the transformation that my audience truly wants? Then start with the story with their pain or need. Position yourself as the guide, not the hero. So make your story audience first, because if it doesn't help them, it doesn't belong. Now let's talk about a piece most beginners skip, and it's actually the most important part of every story that you'll ever tell. Now let me say this clearly, no conflict, no story. Conflict is the heartbeat of storytelling. Without conflict, your story is just a list of facts. Launched a product. It worked. The end. Cool, but not interesting. People lean in when things go wrong. That's when stakes appear. That's when tension pulls them forward. Think of every TED Talk you've ever liked. There's always a turning point, a mistake, a failure, an obstacle. Here's an example. When I was 21, I thought I had my dream job. Then I got fired. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Now you're curious. Always include a challenge. If everything went well, dig deeper. Be honest about the messy middle. That's what makes you relatable. Show what changed before, during, after. Another example. We spent 3 months building the wrong solution. Our metrics didn't budge, but that failure gave us the data we needed to actually pivot. Don't be afraid to show the cracks because that's where the light gets in. Conflict creates stakes. Stakes create care. No conflict, no story, period. So now that you know the story structure, the importance of clarity and conflict, there's one more myth to bust. And this is for anyone who has ever said, but I'm just not a storyteller. You might not realize it, but you're already a storyteller. Think about it. Every time you explain how you solved a problem or convinced someone to change their mind or told your friend what happened at work last week, that's a story. The real question isn't, am I a storyteller? It's how intentional am I with the stories that I tell? Once you start refining what you already do, it gets 10 times easier. You can even start a story file so that anytime something interesting happens at work, you log it. Then when you go to tell it, you can frame it using those 5 beats. Setup, problem, struggle, breakthrough, takeaway. Practice the story out loud. Clarity comes when you hear that story said back. Here's an example. We once lost a client because we were too slow on delivery, but that pain forced us to fix our process, and now our retention is at 95%. That failure built our best system. That's a story. It didn't need fiction, it needed structure. You don't need to invent stories. You just need to recognize them and sharpen them. So now that you know how to tell better stories, it's time for the next step. If you've been trying to take your storytelling to the next level, what I showed you in this video is important. But if you don't actually know how to present your story, then this advice alone won't get you very far. So if you have 8 minutes to spare, click here to watch the next one where I'll show you step by step how to immediately improve your presentation skills to bring your stories, your speeches, and your presentations to life. So if you're serious about getting better at this, I'll see you over there.